Hello. Today we will discuss or start a new series of environment and ecology. Class number 1, basics of environment and ecology. Okay. Environment. The environment is defined as the sum total of living, non-living components, influences, and events surrounding an organism. The environment is defined as the sum total of living, non-living components, influences, and events surrounding an organism. Okay, biotic factors such as fungi, plants, protists, animals, archaea, bacteria. Abiotic factors such as air, salinity, soil, temperature, light, water, minerals, pH, and humidity. Okay, what is ecology? The study of interactions between living organisms and their biotic and abiotic environments. Therefore, it is a study of relationship of plants and animals to their physical and biological environment. Okay, what is ecology? Okay, you can see them here. It is the study of the relationship of plants and animals to their physical and biological environment. Okay, levels of organizations in ecology. They are organism, population, and community. OPC. OPC. Okay, organism. Organism is an individual living being that has the ability to act or function independently. It may be plant, animal, bacterium, fungi, etc. Population is a group of organisms, usually of the same species, occupying a defined area during a specific time. Community. Community refers to all the populations of different species living and interacting in a particular area or a habitat. A community may consist of different species of plants, animals, fungi, and microorganisms which are interdependent and affect each other's survival and well-being. Okay, levels of organisms in ecology. Levels of ecological organization. First one is individual, then population, then community, then ecosystem, then only last biosphere. Individual, population, community, IPC, EB, ecosystem and biosphere. Okay. Levels of organizations in ecology. Ecosystem. An ecosystem is defined as the structural and functional unit of biosphere, consisting of community of living beings and the physical environment, both interacting and exchanging materials between them. The term ecosystem was first coined by the British ecologist Arthur Tansley in 1935. Okay, levels of organizations in ecology. Ecosystem. Oceanic ecosystem. Here they have represented the oceanic ecosystem. Okay, sunlight, nutrient, phytoplankton, surface, euphotic zone. Nekton, eat zooplankton, eat phytoplankton. Okay, dead body or excrement, sink, dead body excrement. Benthos, eat, bacteria, eat. Okay, dead body excrement, digest nutrient, upwelling, only at specific upwelling sites. Okay, components of ecosystem. Ecosystem divided into abiotic components and biotic components. In abiotic components, it has been divided into two: climatic factors and edaphic factors. Okay, climatic factors: rain, light, wind, temperature. Edaphic factors: soil, pH, minerals, topography. Biotic components divided into three: producers, autotrophs; consumers, heterotrophs; decomposers, saprotrophs; consumers, heterotrophs; primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers, quaternary consumers. Okay, functional units of an ecosystem. Productivity, it refers to the rate of biomass production. Next is energy flow. It is the sequential process through which energy flows from one tropic level to another. The energy captured from the sun flows from producers to consumers and then to decomposers and finally back to the environment. Decomposition. It is the process of breakdown of dead organic material. The topsoil is the major site for decomposition. Decomposition, it is the process of breakdown of dead organic material. The topsoil is the major site for decomposition. Okay, nutrient cycling. In an ecosystem, nutrients are consumed and recycled back in various forms for the utilization by various organisms. Okay, biome. What is a biome? A biome refers to large geographical region characterized by a particular set of climatic conditions. Climate conditions, plant and animal life. Each biome has unique characteristics that determine the kinds of plants and animals that can survive and thrive in that particular environment. Types of biomes such as forests, grasslands, tundra, deserts, and aquatic biomes such as oceans, rivers, and lakes. You must read this from G.C. Leong. Okay, biome should be read from G.C. Leong. Okay, biome. Here it has been shown a biome pyramid. Okay, hot, cold. Okay, tropical, temperate, subpolar, polar region. Okay, tropical includes rainforest, subtropical, tropical seasonal forest, scrubland, savanna, desert. Temperate region include deciduous forest, chaparral, grassland, desert. Subpolar includes coniferous forest, also known as boreal forest. Polar region includes tundra. Okay. Biosphere. Biosphere is a part of the earth where life can exist. It represents a highly integrated and interacting zone comprising atmosphere, air, hydrosphere, water, and lithosphere, land. Biosphere is approximately 20 kilometers thick. Most life occurs between 500 meters below the surface of the ocean and about 6 kilometers above the sea level. Okay, biosphere. Biosphere, lithosphere, land, hydrosphere, water, atmosphere, air, okay, biosphere includes atmosphere, lithosphere, and hydrosphere. Habitat. What is an habitat? It is a place where an organism or a community of organisms lives, including all living and non-living factors or conditions of the surrounding environment. Microhabitat is a term for the conditions and organisms in the immediate vicinity of a plant or animal. Microhabitat is a term for the conditions and organisms in the immediate vicinity of a plant or animal. Habitat. Habitat. Examples of microhabitat. Log rotting in a forest. Log rotting in a forest. Okay, niche. What is a niche? Niche refers to the unique role or position of a species within an ecosystem, including the physical and biological conditions it requires to survive and reproduce. It can be described by the specific set of environmental conditions such as temperature, humidity, light, soil type, and food availability that a species requires to survive and thrive. The niche of an organism and its interactions is determined by where it stands in the ecological structure of the ecosystem. Producers, consumers, decomposers. Habitat and niche. Habitat. Physical space occupied by an organism is habitat. Niche. Functional space. Functional space occupied by an organism where it gets the resources needed to survive. Habitat and niche. Okay. First one is bird first, feed here. Yes. Fruit fall. Bird second, wood picking. Wood pecking. Bird three, food here. Feed here. Yeah, food here. Bird one, two, three, insects. Here there are insects. Bird one, two, three, habitat is equal to free. Niche is equal to bottom trunk branches. Okay. Niche types. Based on the interactions of species, the niche are of three types. Habitat niche. Physical habitat niche means physical area in the habitat that a species occupies. Tropical niche. Tropic level occupied by the species in the food chain or ecological chain. Third one is multidimensional niche. Fundamental niche and limiting factors. Fundamental niche, where an organism could exist without ecological interactions. Realized niche, population exists here in the presence of interactions and competition. Realized niche, population exists here in the presence of interactions and competition. Okay, niche types. Fundamental niche is equal to whole tree. Realized niche is equal to specific elevations. Yellow bird inhabits upper tree regions. Red bird inhabits middle boughs of tree. Bluebird inhabits trunk and lower branches. Okay. Niche overlap. If two organisms have the same niche, there is increased competition, leading to less chances of survival. Gauss law, competitive exclusion principle. Competition in the case of same niche of two species will lead to the exclusion of one from that niche. Darwin's finches and Galapagos Islands. Niche overlap. Niche overlap describes the situation in which co-occurring species share parts of their niche space with each other. Overlapping niches may lead to competitive and exclusion. Competitive exclusion. Two species which compete for the same limited resource cannot coexist at constant population values. Niche overlap is reduced by resource partitioning. Resource partitioning is the process of moving things around in order to satisfy the niche size to an appropriate level. Niche overlap. Niche overlap, okay, number of individuals, resource use. Generalist species with a narrow niche. Region of niche overlap. Niche breadth. Generalist species with a broad niche. Niche separation. Okay, niche overlap. Competitive exclusion. Okay. Fruit eaters. Parrot like bill. Insect eaters. Grasping bills. Cactus eaters. Probing bills. Seed eaters. Crushing bills. Okay, cactus eaters and crushing bills are included in ground finches. They have ground fringes. Probing bills have warbler fringe. Parrot-like bill, grasping bills, and some probing bills have tree finches. Okay, vegetarian tree finch. Large insectivorous tree finch. Small insectivorous tree finch. Woodpecker finch. Warbler finch. Cactus ground finch, sharp-beaked ground finch, small ground finch, medium ground finch, large ground finch. Okay, niche overlap, resource partitioning. Resource partitioning. Species alter their use of the niche to avoid competition by dividing resources among them. Okay, flamingos, ducks, avocets, oyster catchers, plovers. Ecotone. Ecotone is a zone of junction between two or more diverse ecosystems. Such areas have richness in biodiversity due to edge effect. Examples of ecotones include marshlands. Marshlands is in between dry and wet ecosystems. Mangrove forest in between terrestrial and marine ecosystems. Grasslands in between desert and forest. And estuaries in between salt water and fresh water. Okay, ecotone. Ecotones, a transitional region between two adjacent ecosystems that contains some of the species and characteristics of each one and also contains species of its own. Ecosystem 1, land ecosystem. Ecotone, marshland, transitional ecosystem. Ecosystem 2, aquatic ecosystem. So marshland is in between land ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. So ecotone become the transitional ecosystem. Okay, characteristic of ecotone. It is a zone of tension. It is linear as it shows progressive increase in species composition of one incoming community and a simultaneous decrease in species of the other outgoing adjoining community. A well-developed ecotone contains some organisms which are entirely different from that of the adjoining communities. Examples of ecotone: coral reefs. We will see this in detail later. Okay. Coral reefs, marine animals that release limestone, calcium carbonate. This limestone in the marine environment of the sea lead to edge effect and ecotone presence. Wetlands. Next example of ecotone is wetland, submerged with water, midway between land and lakes. Therefore, have much higher biodiversity. Ramsar's convention, we will see later in detail. Okay, edge effect. Edge effect refers to the changes in the population or community structures that occur at the boundary of two habitats. Sometimes the number of species and the population density of some of the species in the ecotone is much greater than either community. This is called the edge effect. Species adapted to survive in edge effect areas are called ecotypes. Species adapted to survive in edge effect areas are called ecotypes. Edge effect. Okay, plains, food hills, terrain, Himalayan food hills, more biodiversity. Mountain, terrain is equal to high biodiversity. Dudua National Park, Dudua National Park, UP. Tiger or rhino, Dudua National Park. Okay. So edge effect is this. Ecotype. An ecotype is a population of species that differ genetically from other populations of the same species because local conditions have selected for certain unique physiological or morphological characteristics. Ecotypes are adapted to survive in an ecotone. Example, Royal Bengal tiger, adapted to mangrove, can drink can drink salt water. Examples, Khari camel, Gujarat, Indian rhino. Okay. Ecotypes, example, breech ecotype, prostrate habit with pubescent leaves. Mountain ecotype, erect shrub with hairless leaves. Mountain ecotype. Beach ecotype, hybrid leaves. Ecotypes of Phalanx and their hybrids in Hawaii. Beach ecotype, A. Beach ecotype. B. Mountain ecotype. C, D, and E. Hybrid eco leaves. F is beach flower. G is hybrid flower. H is mountain flower. Functional units of an ecosystem. Productivity. It refers to the rate of biomass production. Energy flow. It is the sequential process through which energy flows from one tropical level to another. The energy captured from the sun flows from producers to consumers and then to decomposers and finally back to the environment. Decomposition. It is a process of breakdown of dead organic material. The topsoil is the major site for decomposition. Nutrient cycling. In an ecosystem, nutrients are consumed and recycled back in various forms for the utilization by various organisms. Trophic level. A trophic level is the representation of energy flow in an ecosystem. It is the position it occupies in a food chain. It deals with how the members of an ecosystem are connected based on the nutritional needs. The topic level interaction involves three concepts: food chain, food web, ecological pyramids. Energy in the ecosystem. Plants absorb less than 1% of the sunlight that reaches them. Photosynthetic organisms make 170 billion metric tons of food each year. Two processes: photosynthesis and respiration. Primary producers, autotrophs, which are known as autotrophs. Word breakdown: autotrophs. Primary producers are basically green plants and certain bacteria and algae. They synthesize carbohydrates. They synthesize carbohydrates from simple inorganic raw materials like carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight by the process of photosynthesis for themselves and supply indirectly to other non-producers. In terrestrial ecosystem, producers are basically herbaceous and woody plants, while in aquatic ecosystem, producers are various species of microscopic algae. Primary producers, autotrophs. Producers, phototrophs or chemotrophs. Primary producers, autotrophs. Producers, phototrophs or chemotrophs. Phototrophs. Phototrophs are organisms that perform photosynthesis and contain chlorophyll, which are carbon dioxide plus water plus sunlight is equal to sugar plus oxygen. Chemotrophs do certain chemical reactions to obtain their food. Okay. Example, sulfur bacteria like thiobacillus. Carbon dioxide plus water plus hydrogen sulfide plus oxygen is equal to carbohydrates plus sulfuric acid. Primary producers, autotrophs. Autotrophs producers produce their own food for energy, use photosynthesis or chemosynthesis. Sun, grass, photosynthesis, grasshopper, toad. Heterotrophs, consumers, eat other organisms to get proteins and energy. Okay, plants. Autotrophs include plants, some bacteria, and algae. Heterotrophs include animals, most bacteria and fungi. Consumers, heterotrophs. Consumers are incapable of producing their own food. Photosynthesis. They depend on organic food derived from plants, animals, or both. Consumers can be divided into two broad groups, namely micro and macro consumers. Consumers, heterotrophs. Okay. Tertiary consumers, eat primary and secondary consumers. Okay, primary producers produce the initial food. Okay, primary consumers, eat primary producers. Secondary consumers, eat primary consumers. Tertiary consumers, eat primary and secondary consumers. Okay, food chain, terrestrial food chain, aquatic food chain. Terrestrial food chain, bunch grass, primary producers. Primary consumers, grasshopper. Secondary consumer, spotted frog. Tertiary consumer, red-tailed hawk. Okay, in aquatic food chain, primary producers are algae. Secondary producers, krill. Sorry, primary consumers, krill. Secondary consumers, crab. Tertiary consumers, sea otter. Okay, macro consumers. They feed on plants or animals or both, and are categorized on the basis of their food source. Herbivores are primary consumers which feed mainly on plants. Example, cow, rabbit, pashu, pinne, muyal. Secondary consumers feed on primary consumers. Example, wolves. Carnivores which feed on secondary consumers are called tertiary consumers. Example, lions which can eat wolves. Omnivores are organisms which can consume both plants and animals. Example, man, monkey. Scavengers feed on dead and decaying organisms. Okay, scavengers. Scavengers feed on carrion, dead or injured animal corpses. Scavengers will feed on these dead plants or animals, and decomposers will finish the job. Scavengers. Scavengers are crow, hyena, fox, jackal, condor, hornet, raccoon, wild boar, Tasmanian devil, marabou stork, wasps, seagull, vulture, opossum, yellow jacket, ant, flesh fly, dung beetle. Microconsumers. They are bacteria and fungi which obtain energy and nutrients by decomposing dead organic substances, detritus of plant and animal origin. They feed on small microscopic bits of dead organic matter and convert them into inorganic nutrients. The products of decomposition, such as inorganic nutrients, which are released in the ecosystem, are reused by producers and thus recycled. Earthworm and certain soil organisms, such as nematodes and arthropods, are detritus feeders and help in the decomposition. Decomposers and detrivores. Okay, parameter of comparison, detrivores and decomposers. General, detrivores. Detrivores, these are organisms which fall under the category of decomposers. Decomposers, it is a set of organisms which consist of detrivores, scavengers, and saprophytes. Okay, metabolic process, detrivores. These organisms do not secrete chemicals to decompose substances. Decomposers, metabolic process. These organisms secrete chemicals or certain enzymes to decompose dead and decaying organisms. Detrivores, the method used for degradation. They degrade different organisms directly through digestion. Decomposers, these organisms secrete enzymes or chemicals to secrete dead and decaying organisms. Organic matter consumption. Detrivores, these consume the organic matter from the substance. Decomposers, they secrete an enzyme for the digestion of organic matter. Retrivores, examples, worms, crabs, flies, and millipedes. Decomposers, bacteria, fungi, and insects. Micro consumers, okay, detrivore examples. Earthworms, wood lice, fungi, dung flies. Dung flies, earthworms, wood lice, and fungi. Okay, they are detrivore examples. Okay, they are detrivores. Example of aquatic ecosystem. Producers in aquatic ecosystems. Producers in aquatic ecosystems. They are blue-green algae, which is known as cyanobacteria, then phytoplankton, then diatoms. Primary consumers: crustaceans, zooplankton, small fish. Secondary consumers: herrings, bigger fish, sharks, etc. Food chain. A sequence of food chain is a sequence of organisms that feed on one another, form a food chain. It is the process of transfer of food energy from green plants producers through a series of organisms with repeated eating and being eaten link. Arrows in a food chain represent the flow of energy through the process of eating. Linear, unidimensional flow of energy. Food chain, okay. Detritus, dead organic matter food chain. Detritus, eaten by primary detritus feeder, eaten by secondary detritus feeder. Okay, grazing food chain. Leaves, cabbage, eaten by caterpillar, eaten by thrush. Okay. Food web. A food web is a diagram or a model that illustrates the interdependence of various organisms in an ecosystem, showing the flow of energy and nutrients from one organism to another. It is a representation of the feeding relationship among different species in an ecosystem. Non-linear. It is non-linear. Food chain is linear, but food web is non-linear. Multidimensional flow of energy. Complexity. More the number of species, greater the interactions, and more complex the food web. These food webs are more stable. Why? Okay. Food web. Partial food web. Non-American, North American grassland and forest. Okay. Red foxes and black bears are omnivorous, and thus they are very often considered to be secondary consumers. However, in this food web, they function as tertiary consumers. Okay. Here you can see a food web. Okay. Sun, energy source, soil, nutrients, and water. Decomposers, bacteria, fungi. Okay. Detrivores such as turkey vulture, crow. Okay. Here producers are oak tree. Primary consumers such as field mouse, quail, beetle, squirrel. Secondary consumers: hawk, frog, raccoon. Tertiary consumers: for wolf, red fox, black bear. Okay. Food web collapse. A food web collapse occurs when the interconnected food chain of an ecosystem break down or fail to function in a sustainable manner. This can happen due to a number of factors such as changes in the climate, loss of key species, pollution, and overexploitation by humans. A food web collapse can have serious consequences on the entire ecosystem, including loss of biodiversity, reduced productivity, and even ecosystem collapse. Food web, food web collapse. Okay, climate change could drive coastal food webs to collapse. Children born today will see literally thousands of animals disappear in their lifetime as global food webs collapse. Okay, ecological pyramids. Next, we will discuss about the ecological pyramids. Ecological pyramids are graphical representations of the trophic levels within an ecosystem. Ecological pyramids are graphical representation of the trophic levels within an ecosystem. They show the relative abundance or biomass of different groups of organisms at each trophic level in an ecosystem and the flow of energy and nutrients through the food chain. Law of 10% given by Raymond Lindemann. From one trophic level to another, only biomass will get transferred. However, not all energy obtained by an organism will get converted to biomass. When all energy losses are added, only about 10% of the energy entering one trophic level is available to the next trophic level because only 10% of the energy obtained is used to make biomass. This is known as the 10% law. Law of 10% given by Raymond Lindemann. Because of the 10% law, food chains have 5 or less links. Because 90% of energy is lost at each level, the amount of energy available decreases very quickly. Most of the energy loss is in production of heat energy and movement from one place to other. Law of 10% given by Raymond Lindemann. 10 lakh joule of sunlight. Okay. Primary producers 1% transferred, that is 10,000 joule. 10% energy transfer. Sorry, okay. 10% energy transfer. Okay. Then 10,000 joule. Then 10% energy transfer. Primary consumers 1000 joule. Then 10% energy transfer made into 100 joule. Secondary consumers and 10% energy transfer. Tertiary consumers 10 joule. Okay. Ecological pyramids. Pyramid of numbers, pyramid of biomass, pyramid of energy. So there are three ecological pyramids. They are numbers, biomass, and energy. Ecological pyramids. Ecological pyramids are graphical representations of the tropical levels within an ecosystem. They show the relative abundance or biomass of different groups of organisms at each tropical level, at each tropic level in an ecosystem, and the flow of energy and nutrients through the food chain. They show the relative abundance or biomass of different groups of organisms at each tropic level in an ecosystem and the flow of energy and nutrients through the food chain. Pyramid of energy. The pyramid of energy is a graphical representation of the flow of energy through an ecosystem. It is always upright. As you move up the pyramid, there is less energy available because some is lost in each transfer. That is 10% rule. This loss of energy is due to the loss of thermodynamics. Okay, pyramid of energy. Light energy. Okay, bananas 10% is producers. Okay, energy lost is 100%. Sorry. First of all, producers they have 100% energy. Then primary consumers, it turned to 10%, which is fruit flies. Secondary consumers, it turned to 1% tokens, and tertiary consumers, joggers, 0.1% energy. Okay. Relevance of pyramid of energy. The food pyramid represents the flow of energy in an ecosystem. It illustrates the amount of energy that is transferred from one tropic level to another in an ecosystem. The pyramid helps us understand the importance of primary producers and the limits of energy transfer in an ecosystem. It is a simple way to visualize the complex interactions between organisms and energy in an ecosystem. Pyramid of biomass. The pyramid of biomass is a graphical representation of the amount of living organic matter or biomass present in each tropic level of an ecosystem. It represents the relative amount of biomass at each level, with the largest biomass at the base of the pyramid and successively smaller biomass at each higher level. It is not always a perfect pyramid shape, as it can be affected by factors such as the size and turnover rate of the organisms in each tropic level. Pyramid of biomass. Okay. Producers 1000 kg, herbivores 100 kg, primary carnivore 10 kg, then top carnivore 1 kg. Inverted pyramid in an aquatic ecosystem. Okay, so pyramid of biomass in terrestrial ecosystem is an upright, and inverted in aquatic ecosystem, pyramid of biomass is in invert is seen as inverted pyramid. Okay, so producers 4 gram, then herbivores 8 gram, carnivores 12 gram. Okay, aquatic pyramid of biomass: phytoplankton 2 to 3 days, zooplankton 7 to 8 days, small fish 15 to 20 days, shark 10 years. At one particular amount of time, the biomass at the lower tropical levels are lower than that of higher tropic levels. Hence, there is an inverted biomass pyramid. I think these are the its lifespan. Okay. Hence, there is an inverted biomass pyramid. Okay, pyramid of biomass. T1 producers, T2 herbivores, T3 secondary consumers, T4 tertiary consumers. So pyramids of biomass. Dry weight per unit area in different types of ecosystem. Okay, A is upright, it is grassland ecosystem. B is shown as the forest ecosystem, which is okay. Then that is also upright, and C is inverted ecosystem, which is the pond ecosystem. Pond ecosystem. Okay, pyramid of biomass. Pyramid of numbers. Pyramids of number. This pyramid shows the number of organisms at each trophic level in the food chain. It indicates the number of individuals at each trophic level and is often shaped like a true pyramid, with the largest number of organisms at the base and decreasing numbers as you move up the pyramid. However, there can be certain exceptions when it is not shaped like a true pyramid. Pyramids of number: 1,000 freshwater shrimp, 10,000 freshwater shrimp, 1,000 bleak, 100 perch, 10 northern pike, 1 osprey. Inverted pyramid of numbers. Okay. Producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers. Okay. Inverted pyramid of numbers. Okay. So this is represented as the terrestrial ecosystem. Okay. Pyramid of number. Spindle shaped. Producer, herbivores, carnivore. Bioaccumulation. Bioaccumulation is the gradual accumulation of substances such as pesticides or other chemicals in an organism. Bioaccumulation is the gradual accumulation of substances such as pesticides or other chemicals in an organism. It occurs when an organism absorbs a substance at a rate faster than that at which the substance is lost or eliminated by catabolism and excretion. Okay, accumulation in food chain, down to earth. Microplastics are getting into mosquitoes and contaminating new food chains. According to your research, there was evidence of beads in all the life stages of mosquitoes, although the numbers went down as the animals developed. Any flying insect that spends part of its life in water can become a carrier of plastic pollution, thus resulting in biomagnification at higher tropics. Accumulation in food chain, mosquito life cycle. Here we have represented the mosquito life cycle. Okay, eggs in egg raft, then larva, wiggler, wriggler, then pupa, then turned into adult mosquito. Egg, larva, pupa, and adult mosquito. Okay. Biomagnification versus bioaccumulation. Bioaccumulation takes place in a single organism over the span of its life, resulting in a higher concentration in the older individuals. Biomagnification takes place as chemicals transfer from lower tropical levels to higher tropic levels within a food web, resulting in a higher concentration in apex predators. When DDT enters aquatic bodies, it gets built up in the body of fishes, and this is known as bioaccumulation. When fishes are eaten by animals of higher tropic levels, concentration of DDT is increased at each successive tropic level, and this is known as biomagnification. Biomagnification, also known as bioamplification or biological magnification, is the increase in concentration of a substance, example, a pesticide, in the tissues of organisms at successively higher levels in a food chain. This increase can occur as a result of persistence, food chain energetics, low or non existent rate of internal degradation or excretion of the substance. Okay, this increase can occur as a result of persistence, where the substance cannot be broken down by environmental processes. Food chain energetics, where the substance's concentration increases progressively as it moves up a food chain. Low or non-existent rate of internal degradation or excretion of the substance, mainly due to water insolubility. Substances that biomagnify. Biomagnification. Okay. DDT in water. Okay. DDT in zooplankton. DDT in small fishes. DDT in large fishes. DDT in fish eating birds. DDT concentration increase of 10 million times by passing each tropic levels. Okay. Substances that biomagnify. Substances that biomagnify. In order for biomagnification to occur, the pollutant must be long-lived, mobile, soluble in fats, and non-biodegradable. Soluble in fats. Okay. Examples of substances: chlorinated hydrocarbons, organochlorines, inorganic compounds like methyl mercury or heavy metals, persistent organic pollutants. Okay, examples of biomagnification: DDT, used to kill mosquitoes, added up in bald eagle populations, leading to their eggshells being crushed. This was written about by Rachel Carson in her book The Silent Spring. It rained cats in Borneo. It rained cats in Borneo. Explained in class. Okay. Minamata case, Minamata disease, mercury accumulation in shellfish in Minamata Bay, eaten by the local populace, leading to mercury population poisoning. Mercury bioaccumulation in shellfish in Minamata Bay, eaten by the local populace, leading to mercury poisoning. Diclofenac and the Indian vulture crisis. Okay, examples of biomagnification. DDT, byproduct 1 eliminated the natural predator for the thatch eating caterpillar. Overpopulation of caterpillars killed parasitic wasp. Caterpillars ate the roofs of the villagers' houses. Okay, DDT. Original purpose. The WHO used DDT to kill the mosquito that caused malaria. Byproduct 2, biomagnification of DDT poisoning in cats caused an outbreak of sylvatic plague. DDT accumulated in geckos. Eating the geckos caused more DDT to accumulate in the cats that killed the wild cats. As the cats died, the rat population flourished, and so did on outbreak of plague. Okay. Examples of biomagnification: food chain, Minamata disease, methyl mercury. Okay, volcano coal plant will results into the emission of mercury and mine. Okay, turned into methyl mercury, dissolved in food chain and caused Minamata disease. Okay. Biomagnification in vultures. Traces of diclofenac and its derivative compounds have been found in the carcasses of vultures across India and its neighboring countries, and it is known that biomagnification of diclofenac from the consumption of infected domestic animal carcasses contributes to vulture mortality. Biotic interactions. Biotic interactions are the interactions between the different living organisms in an ecosystem. These interactions can be positive, negative, or neutral, and they can affect the distribution and abundance of species, the structure of communities, and functioning of ecosystem. Okay, biotic interaction. You can see them here. Mutualism, plus plus, symbiosis, plus and plus, proto cooperation, positive and positive, common commensalism, positive and neutral. Okay, predation, plus or minus, amensalism, minus or neutral, parasitism, plus and minus, competition, minus and minus. Okay, interaction. Types of interaction: amensalism, species 1 minus, species 2 0. General nature of interaction: the most powerful animal or larger organisms inhibits the growth of other lower organisms. Example: cat and rat. Second is mutualism, plus and plus. Interaction favorable to both and obligatory between crocodile and bird. Commensalism. Third one is commensalism, plus and zero. Population one, the commensal benefits, while two, the host is not affected. Example, sucker fish on shark. Fourth one is competition, minus minus, direct inhibition of each species by the other. Example is birds compete with squirrels for nuts and seeds. Fifth one is parasitism, plus and minus. Population 1, the parasite generally smaller than 2, the host. Example is ascaris and tapeworm in human digestive tract. Ascaris and tapeworm in human digestive tract is an example of parasitism. Sixth one is predation, plus minus. Population 1, the predator generally larger than 2, the prey. Example, lion predatory on deer. Mutualism. It is the type of interaction where both species benefit from the interaction. Okay, it highlights the interdependence of species in an ecosystem. By working together, species can enhance their chances of survival and reproduction and help to maintain the balance of the ecosystem. Mutualism. Ants provide safety, transportation, and food. Aphids provide food. Aphids provide food. In return, ants provide safety, transportation, and food. Symbiosis. Symbiosis is a type of biotic interaction in which two or more different species live in close association with each other. The term symbiosis was coined by Anton de Barry in 1879 and is derived from the Greek words syn, together, and biosis, living. Symbiosis can take many different forms, and not all symbiotic relationships are mutualistic. Some symbiotic relationships are parasitic, in which one species benefit at the expense of other, while others are commensal, in which one species benefits without affecting the other. Symbiosis. Okay, nitrogen from air, bacterium. Nitrogen from air moves as nitrogen components into the plant, and the plant's photosynthesis products are nitrogen from the air. Okay, are bacterium. Okay, protocooperation is a type of interaction between two species that is not yet fully mutualistic, but represents the early stages of mutualism. Protocooperation is a type of interaction between two species that is not yet fully mutualistic, but represents the early stages of mutualism. In protocooperation, two or more species interact in a way that benefits both, but the relationship is not yet fully independent on each other. Over time, the relationship may evolve into a more symbiotic and mutualistic one. Protocooperation. In it, interaction is temporary. Once the interacting organisms get the advantage, they separate. Survival is not an issue. Example, plants and pollinators. The pollinators may feed on the nectar of the plants, but they also inadvertently transfer pollens from one plant to another, benefiting the plant's reproductive success. Commensalism. This defines the interaction in which two or more species are mutually associated in activities centering on food, and one species at least derives benefit from the association, while the other associates are neither benefited nor harmed. Commensalism. Predation is a form of interaction where one animal kills another animal for food. Specialized predators are those adapted to hunt only a few specific species. Lion and deer exhibit predator-prey relationship, where the lion is the predator and the deer is the prey. This type of interaction helps in the transfer of energy up the trophic levels and is an essential strategy in population regulation. Predation. Okay, you can see an example here, like cheetah chasing a deer. Okay, parasitism. It is a kind of harmful interaction between two species wherein One species is the parasite and the other is its host. The parasite benefits at the expense of the host. A parasite derives shelter, food, and protection from the host. Parasite exhibits adaptations to exploit their hosts. Parasitism. Okay, here you can see an example. Okay, parasitism. The parasites may be viral parasites such as plant, animal viruses, microbial parasites, example bacteria, protozoa, and fungi. Phytoparasites, such as plant parasites. Zooparasites, such as animal parasites, such as platyhelminthes, nematodes, and arthropods. Platyhelminthes, nematodes, and arthropods. These are zooparasites. Parasites may inhibit or attach to the surface of the host. Ectoparasites, head lice, leech, or live within the body of the host. Endoparasites, Ascaris tapeworm. Ectoparasites are head lice, leech, and endoparasites are Ascaris tapeworm. Okay, competition. It refers to type of interaction in which individuals of a species or members of different species vie for limited availability of food, water, nesting space, cover, mates, or other resources. When resources are in more than adequate to meet the demands of the organisms seeking them, competition does not occur. But when inadequate to satisfy the need of the organism seeking them, the weakest, least adapted, least aggressive individuals are often forced to face challenges. Interspecific competition. Interspecific competition is a type of interaction in which two or more species compete for a limited resource, such as food, water, or habitat. This competition occurs between different species that share the same resource requirements. For example, lions and hyenas may compete for access to prey species, or two species of trees may compete for sunlight and nutrients. Interspecific competition. Okay, interspecific competition. Here is an example of lion and tiger. In intraspecific competition. Intraspecific competition, on the other hand, is a type of interaction in which individuals of the same species compete for resources. This competition occurs within a species and it can be intense, especially when resources are scarce. For example, plants may compete for water and nutrients in the soil, or animals may compete for mates or nesting sites. Next is amensalism. This is an ecological interaction in which an individual species harm another without obtaining benefit. In amensalism, the species that is negatively affected is often referred to as the victim species. The negative effect can occur in several ways, such as through the release of chemicals or other substances that are toxic or inhibitory to the victim species, or through physical interference with the victim's ability to access resources. Amensalism, example, a large tree shades a small plant. A large tree shades a small plant, retarding the growth of the small plant. The small plant has no effect on the large tree. Test of questions. Okay. Which one of the following is the best description of the term ecosystem? A community of organisms interacting with one another. That part of the earth which is inhabited by living organisms. A community of organisms together with the environment in which they live. The flora and fauna of geographical area. An ecosystem is a community of organisms interacting with one another, right? Let us check the answer. The correct answer is a community of organisms together with the environment in which they live. Oh, so three is the answer. So ecosystem is a community of organisms together with the environment in which they live. It is not a community of organisms interacting with one another. So what is a community of organisms interacting with one another? It's biotic component of an ecosystem. A community of organisms interacting with one another is the biotic component of an ecosystem consisting of different species that live in the same area and affect each other and the abiotic factors. Okay. 2013. Which one of the following terms describe not only the physical space occupied by an organism, but also its functional role in the community of organisms? It is ecological niche. Okay, 2014th question. Which one of the following is the correct sequence of a food chain? Diatoms, crustaceans, herrings. Crustaceans, diatoms, herrings. Diatoms, herrings, crustaceans. Diatoms, herrings, diatoms. Sorry, crustaceans, herrings, diatoms. I think it's diatoms, crustaceans, and herrings. Let us examine. Let's check. Diatoms, crustaceans, and herrings. Yes, correct answer. 2013th question. With reference to food chains in ecosystem, consider the following statements. A food chain illustrates the order in which a chain of organisms feed upon each other. Food chain are found within the populations of a species. A food chain illustrates the numbers of each organisms which are eaten by others. Food chain are found in within the population of a species. Food chain, okay. A food chain illustrates in order in which a chain of organisms feed upon each other. Okay. I think it's B, 1 and 2. Let's check the answer. It's 1 only. Okay. A food chain illustrates the order in which a chain of organisms feed upon each other. Food chains are found within the population of a species is an incorrect statement. A food chain illustrates the numbers of each organism which are eaten by others. It is also an incorrect statement. Okay, 2013th question. With reference to food chains in ecosystems, which are the following kinds of organisms? Organism is or are known as decomposer organism or organisms. Virus, fungi, bacteria. I think it's fungi and bacteria. Let's examine the answers. Let's check the answer. It is 2 and 3. Fungi and bacteria. Yes, correct. Okay. Next question. Which of the following are detrivorous? Earthworms, jellyfish, millipedes, seaholes, woodlice. Here we can eliminate seaholes. So option without 4. Okay, 1, 3, earthworms, millipedes, woodlice are detrivorous. Jellyfish and seaholes are not detrivorous. 2021 question. Consider the following kinds of organisms. Which are copepods, cyanobacteria, diatoms, foraminifera. Which of the above are primary producers in the food chain of oceans? They are, I think, cyanobacteria, then diatoms. 2 and 3. Is it B? Let's check the answer. It's cyanobacteria and diatoms. Yes, correct. So cyanobacteria and diatoms are the primary producers in the food chain of oceans. Okay, foraminifera and copepods are not primary producers in the food chain of oceans. Okay, question 8. Which of the following have species that can establish symbiotic relationship with other organisms? Okay, which are they? Symbiotic relationship. Cnidarians, fungi, protozoa. I think it's cnidarians, fungi, protozoa. All these three can establish symbiotic relationship with other organisms. I think so. Let's check the answer first. Okay, need species that can establish symbiotic relationship with other organisms include cnidarians such as sea anemones, jellyfish, corals, and hydras. Fungi, which form symbiotic relationships with various organisms, including plants and animals. Protozoa, single-celled organisms. Protozoa are single-celled organisms. So, 3 is the correct answer. Okay. The term ecosystem was first used by A.G. Tansley in 1935, who defined an ecosystem as a particular category of physical systems consisting of organisms and inorganic components in a relatively stable equilibrium, open and of various sizes and kinds. Thus, the ecosystems include both the organisms as well as their environment. Okay. In ecology, a niche is a term describing the relational position of a species or population in an ecosystem. More formally, the niche includes how a population responds to the abundance of its resources and enemies. Example, by growing when resources are abundant and predators, parasites, and pathogens are scarce, and how it affects those same factors. Example, by reducing the abundance of resources through consumption and contributing to the population growth of enemies by falling prey to them. Gauss competitive exclusion principle says that those species having identical requirements cannot occupy the same niche indefinitely. Okay. Diatoms are a major group of algae and are amongst the most common types of phytoplankton, so primary producers or autotrophs. Crustaceans are consumers or heterotrophs, while herrings, a fish, feed on crustaceans. Okay. Food chain in ecology, the sequence of transfers of matter and energy in the form of food from organism to organism. Food chains are not found within the population of a species because technically the food chain is the sequence of organisms through which the energy flows. Food chains intertwine in locally into a food web because most organisms consume more than one type of animal or plant. Fungi and bacteria are decomposers. They break down organic matter into simple inorganic substances. Virus represents dormant life. They are metabolically inactive as long as they are outside a host body. They are not decomposers. Viruses are not decomposers. They invade host cells and use their nucleus, DNA machinery, to carry out their life processes. Detritivores are heterotrophs that obtain nutrients by consuming detritus. There are many kinds of invertebrates, vertebrates, and plants that carry out coprophagy. By doing so, all these detritivores contribute to decomposition and the nutrient cycles. Earthworm, millipedes, and woodlice are detrivores. Okay, autotrophs or primary producers are organisms that acquire their energy from sunlight and materials from non-living sources. Copepods are a group of small crustaceans found in nearly every freshwater and saltwater habitat. Copepods are major secondary producers in the world ocean. They represent an important link between phytoplankton, microzooplankton, and higher trophic levels such as fish. They are an important source of food for many fish species, but also a significant producer of detritus. Okay. Cnidarian, also called co-elendrate, Cnidarian, also called co-elendrate, are mostly marine animals. They include they include the corals, hydras, jellyfish, Portuguese men of war, sea anemones, sea pens, sea whips, and sea fans. The relationship between cnidarians and dinoflagellate algae is termed as symbiotic because both the animal host and the algae are benefiting from the association. It is a mutualistic interaction. Fungi have several mutualistic relationships with other organisms. In mutualism, both organisms benefit from the relationship. Two common mutualistic relationships involving fungi are mycorrhiza and lichen. Termites have a mutualistic relationship with protozoa that live in the insect's gut. Termite benefits from the ability of bacterial symbionts within the protozoa to digest cellulose. Cyanobacteria, also called blue-green algae, are microscopic organisms found naturally in all type of waters. Cyanobacteria are important primary producers and form a part of phytoplankton. They may also form biofilms and mats. Benthic cyanobacteria. The atoms are photosynthesizing algae. The atoms are photosynthesizing algae. They have a siliceous skeleton, frustule, and are found in almost all aquatic environment, including fresh and marine waters. The atoms are one of the more major primary producers in the ocean, responsible annually for 20% of photosynthetically fixed CO2 on Earth. Foraminifera are single-celled organisms, members of a phylum or class of amoeboid protists, characterized by streaming granular ectoplasm for catching food and other uses. Okay, so we have completed the class number 1, basics of environment and ecology. Okay, we will discuss the next chapter in the next class. Thank you for listening me. Thank you for your patience. Thank you very much. Bye.